Do you know what the biggest flaw of the American system is? The biggest flaw of the American system is that uninformed people can vote. Now, I'm not an advocate of poll taxes and, many of the type of things that, were done historically to keep African Americans, from voting, reading tests and other type of comprehensive tests, because your ability to vote shouldn't have, it shouldn't be able to be, limited in a discriminatory manner, based on, your race or your ethnic group or, where you come from, your religion and what have you. However, sometimes when I'm just looking at the process and I'm looking at the way that, people can be so easily misinformed and then run out there to want to vote, it's just mind-blowing to me, and it's scary at the same time, because it makes me realize how people can so easily be controlled simply with, fear-mongering and, scare tactics. But right now, we're dealing with this whole post-Orlando shooter scenario. And I'm looking at everybody's talking about, gun control. You've seen it all over the news. CNN's running out there and putting out these, what I would consider fake polls. But, let me just go with it for a second. Let's go with their poll. They said something like, it was like 55%, 42% said no, 55% said yes, they want more gun control, and then like 3% said that they don't know. And, if I took that at face value, I would say to myself, yeah, it makes sense that more people would advocate for gun control after, constantly being bombarded by the media with mass shootings, and never in the media, or rarely in the media, do you ever see scenarios other than, your occasional Fox News, snippets of people actually defending themselves with a firearm, which happens, much more on a regular basis. You just don't hear about it. It doesn't make the mainstream news. But you get these people who they know nothing about gun laws. They don't own a gun. They know nothing about guns. Guns aren't for everybody. Everybody isn't, with carrying concealed. Everybody isn't with responding, with a gun, if they were assaulted. Even if somebody broke into their home. Like, primary example, my mother. My mother, for whatever reason, abhors guns. And, my mother's in her 60s now. And if she were home, with my father, or home by herself, and somebody broke in, she wouldn't do anything but scream. And I've had conversations with her, and she just goes, "Oh, well, I just could never. I couldn't kill anybody." I'm like, "Mom, you're scared of everything. You're scared of caterpillars. You'd be screaming bloody murder. You'd be grabbing pots and pans, trying to throw it at the person, screaming, 'Get out of my house.' But you're telling me that if they came in there with the intent to hurt you, or, you having the assumption that they came in there with the intent to hurt you, that you wouldn't blow them away?" I'm like, that's crazy, but I have to understand that not everybody is built like that. Not everybody, even if their own life were at risk, would, fight back. The choices are what? Fight or flight, right? My mother would probably try to get out of there. Honestly, I think she would just scream and cower in the corner. But the other thing is I don't think a lot of people who consider themselves nonviolent, you don't know what they would be capable of doing if their life was, in danger. If they were, somebody posed a threat to them. It's like the mothers who go out here and, their child is stuck underneath the car, and the next thing you know, they get superhuman strength and they lift the car up, to get their child out from underneath the car, right? So a lot of times I don't think people know what they're capable of until you put them, in a situation. Some people may fold. Other people may surprise themselves as to what they might be able to do, when the adrenaline is pumping and that fear factor of immediate danger is in their face. But when it comes to you know people, let's just say the vast majority of people want new gun control laws. The vast majority of people don't know anything about guns, nor the gun laws. People like with the news, and I will say the liberals, the Democrats, they'll go out there and they'll say things that are patently false, and people who don't know anything about guns assume it to be true, and assume that there's these loopholes, and assume that you just like if they say buying guns online, people assume that you literally go online and go to, Amazon.guns and buy guns, and they get sent to your house, like it's the 1930s. A lot of the mobsters in the 1930s actually got their Tommy guns mail ordered, because back then you could do that. You could order a Tommy gun and have it sent to your door. That's how loose the gun laws were back in the turn of the century, turn of last century, right? And a lot of things changed, a lot of things happened. Personally, if you ask me, and I've talked about this before, I think a lot of the gun laws, came to be, were as a part of being racially motivated. 1968 Gun Control Act. What was going on in 1968? Leaders were being assassinated in America, whether they were black leaders or white leaders or civil rights leaders. They were being killed. You had massive amounts of riots. You had white people fearing the idea of black people having guns. Prior to that, if you had a felony, it didn't matter. You could get a gun just the same. But the fear of, black men with guns, I think, struck a chord with a lot of white folks. And I think that's why a lot of those anti-gun control bills were pushed. And then soon after came mass incarceration of black males. And then the dumping of drugs into the black community by the CIA. Thank you, Michael Ruppert. And, God rest his soul, because he committed suicide a couple years back. And then you have, that's the guy who made the video that you can find on YouTube, Collapse. He was talking about the economic collapse. But he was also in a LA, Los Angeles Police Department officer who exposed a lot of the dumping of drugs in the black community, especially during the Reagan era. I think they called it Iran-Contra-ing. So you can go on Wikipedia and you can look all that up. But I think the problem is that there's a lot of people, when they say, oh, we need more gun control, they don't know the gun laws. They don't know what is possible and what is not possible. They don't know what is banned and what is not banned. They don't know what is limited and what is not limited. They don't even know that the laws are different in every state. They don't know that you can go into Pennsylvania and you can buy whatever gun you want, like sneakers, where versus in New Jersey, you can't, let alone have concealed carry. In Pennsylvania, concealed carry is the norm. You go out to, I don't know, places like Harrisburg, and you may see the butt of a gun underneath the guy's jacket. Oh my God, he's carrying a gun. He's not a cop. That's how people would be. They would freak out, if they were from New Jersey. They're not used to seeing that. But I recall back in 2013, when they had the first attempt at the assault weapons ban. It's funny because you'll have people say, oh, I don't believe in guns, and I think we need more gun control, and yada, 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 right? They'll tell you all that. Same people that'll tell you that, you'll go to a gun shop. I'll go to a gun shop to buy ammunition on a Saturday or something like that. Oh, and guess who's there? Same person talking about, I don't think that people should have guns. A lot of this, everybody's going to make sure that they got theirs. That's the funny part, right? Every time the Democrats come up with these, we're going to ban guns, people go out and buy them in droves. I've been looking at gun prices for a long. I steady look at gun prices, and I'm gonna tell you the best time to buy gun prices are the end of the summer. That's the best time to buy guns. It's the end of the summer, before, I'd say no later than October, but the beginning of August. So you got from August to October, right before election. Right, I'm telling, once Halloween passes, it just jumps. Right, especially if it's an election year, forget about it. It's all gun prices soar through the roof during an election year. So you always want to buy, right around, the end of the summer, because that's when people really don't have any money to spend, and then then the holidays are coming up, so they're saving for that. When the Christmas specials really aren't that great. A lot of the Christmas specials are basically what they had before. They just raise the price and then tell you that they have a sale. I know, because I look at the prices on a regular basis. Know what I want to get, what's affordable. Prices are going up right now, but it's not like it was back in 2013. 2013, it was just nuts. But a lot of people already have a whole bunch of guns that they've essentially stockpiled, from 2013. People already got their AR-15. I mean, they sell about, what is it, like 2 million AR-15s a year, something like that in America. So, when people assume oh my God, why does anybody need that gun? They don't even know how many people have that type of gun in their home. You think somebody's going to tell you, especially if you live in a yuppie, a liberal area, or think it's liberal, or think it's they're not going to tell you that they have an AR-15. You can only freely express having guns when you're out in the countryside, or in, more rural area, or a state that, is known to be pro-gun. That's the only time that you can really say, hey, this is what I got. But if I tell somebody I got an AR-15, hell, if I tell somebody I got body armor, they look at me like I'm crazy. That's in the Northeast. But it's just funny, because a lot of the people, that, oh, no, we don't like guns, be the same ones that they don't even know the process, and they'll be in a gun store in New Jersey. They'll go in the gun store. I've seen it happen at least on 3 occasions. This is what happens. Gun scare happens. Boom. Oh my God, we got to get a gun for ourselves. They just want to have a gun. While everybody's running around trying to buy the rifle that's going to be banned, let's say an AR-15 or an AK-47 or something like that, these people will come in and say, I want a gun, and I heard revolvers are good. Revolvers are better than a semi-auto. They come in with some nonsense about, what they think they should have or whatever. And they go to buy the gun, and in New Jersey, you have to have not only a firearms ID card, but you also have to have, which means you have to go to the police station and get fingerprinted and, the background check. You also have to have a permit to purchase, which every time you want a handgun, you have to go and do the process all over again and get a money order that is $2. You're putting $2 on a money order to go to the state police, and the the money order itself is worth more than the $2 that you're putting on the money order, to send to the state police. It's the most retarded thing that you could possibly think of. But this is how it works in New Jersey. You should see the person's face when they're like, oh, how much do you want the money order for? $2. And then they're like, $2? They're looking at you like you're crazy. It's like, hey, that's what it says on the form. They want $2 money order. That's what it is. It's just ridiculous. But, it's just people, personally, in my opinion, I feel that the Second Amendment should be progressive. There's 2 things I can't believe. They got these judges all over the place. I think the Supreme Court is a bunch of cowards. I understand and I don't understand. I understand that, America is the United States of America, right? And that states should have the right to regulate themselves. I understand that. So if you live in a state that's got a bunch of, Democrats or liberals or asshole anti-gunners that are, on the bench, or in the state house, you need to vote them out. You need to educate your community or educate your people about, guns, or the people in your state about guns, and stop letting, the Democratic liberal, channels, tell them about, how bad, guns are and everything. Like I've talked about before, it blows my mind when I see these, moms against guns, moms against violence and everything. And half of those women will be the same women that'll be out there marching about take back the night and violence against women. And I'm like, the greatest equalizer between a man and a woman is a firearm. If women are so concerned about being violated and raped and attacked and whatever else, they should be some of the strongest advocates, for the Second Amendment. But as I was saying, I believe that the Second Amendment should be progressive. Like, what if tomorrow, technology is advancing. What if tomorrow every police officer had an Iron Man suit? The whole point of the Constitution, the Second Amendment within the Constitution, okay, was to, protect the people from a tyrannical government. It blows my mind that people can actually sit around and act and say things like, this can't happen here. America is whatever, and it can't happen here. Like, what's going on in Syria can't happen here. What's going on in Iran can't happen here. What's going on in Egypt can't happen here. What was going on in Bahrain with the, what was it called? The Arab Spring, right? Can't happen here, right? What's going on in Ukraine can't happen here, right? I mean, people said that about September 11th. That can't happen here. This is America, right? People are always saying something can't happen, and then it does happen. If it, and it's like people just do not know history. There's been plenty of times in history, like it's like this is the irony of it. People will tell you it can't happen here, but it does happen somewhere else. Then people will also tell you it can't happen here, but it's already happened in the past. So I'm like, just because it's happening somewhere else, so that means to the left of you, and because it happened in the past, which means it's behind you, doesn't mean that it can't happen in the future, which would be in front of you, right? It doesn't mean that it can't happen, right? So it's like, when I look at white people, right, I'm like, they're like, oh, this can't happen here. I'm like, Ludlow Massacre in Colorado. Look it up. Latimer Massacre. I believe that was somewhere down in the South. I want to say it was in West Virginia, or I think it was West Virginia, maybe. Latimer Massacre. Or even when you have, the government or corporations or banks, all three, which are, the Triforce of Wisdom, all three, that are in bed with one another. I mean, look at the Homestead Massacre, right? Out in Pennsylvania with, Andrew Carnegie and the steel mill, and I forget what the guy's name. I want to say his name was Fick. He was the manager of the steel mill, and he called up the Pinkertons. That's where Pinkerton Security Company comes from. They're hired guns. That's how I look at most police. Hired guns. That's what they are. They're hired guns for the ruling, elite. You can always pay half the poor to kill the other half. And this is why maintaining and preserving the Second Amendment is very, very, extremely important. And yet, so many people in America are just so willing to just piss away and throw away, that right. And the thing is if you throw away that right, you're not getting it back. You are not getting it back. Once you give it up, the people who are in positions of power can do whatever they want to you at that point. You don't even have the ability to fight back. Period. And then this is where the naysayers come up with their, you're talking about all-out war with the American government. Right? Um, and don't ever think that, government won't try to abuse power. Again, you can always pay half the poor to kill the other half. That's pretty much all of the military and all of the police. And a lot of the people in the military and the police are not the sharpest and brightest people in the room. Let's get that out the way. A lot of people are dropouts and flunkies. And then you got the kids who, they want to they join the military because, they saw a commercial with the trumpets blaring in the background and somebody running over a hill in slow motion, or they had an abusive father and they're power hungry and they just want to go out there and slam somebody on the ground. I mean, there's all type of people who shouldn't be in law enforcement or the military. And for the most part, most of the people who were in law enforcement and the military grew up poor or lower end of the working class. You're not going to see any senator's son out there talking about, I want to be in the military, I want to be a Marine. You're not going to see anybody, any politician or a banker's son say, I would love nothing more than to be a police officer and make $33,000 a year. And even less in some parts of the country. I remember I saw a poster in Philadelphia, for how much it was to be a police officer, $38,000 a year. And in Philly, cops do get shot. They do get killed. I can't think of the last time a cop got shot, but I remember they had a guy that he's a Muslim guy, right? And, he shot the officer in the arm in the car, tried to assassinate him. In the car. And that was the last time I think there was a police officer involved shooting, but I could be wrong. I haven't been up on the news. But a police state is a real possibility. I don't know why people don't realize that. And like I said, with technology advancing, what happens if every police officer has a Iron Man suit? Now what? Now your guns are ineffective. See, what people don't understand is there's ways of making the Second Amendment ineffective. The Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, is meant to keep a balance between the people and the government. If anything comes into play, if the police officers that are on the ground or the troops or the soldiers that are on the ground, basically make it so that you and your rifle, you shooting your rifle is like shooting BBs at them, then essentially the Second Amendment has been rendered obsolete, or it's been rendered, just completely ineffective. Yes, you have the right to have guns that don't work against, an abusive, tyrannical government. Like, does that make any sense? Right? If police officers have phasers, I want a phaser. Okay? If they have Star Wars laser guns, if they have the Han Solo laser gun, I want the Han Solo laser gun. The whole point of the Second Amendment is to equalize the people to the government. And for some reason, everybody now is, they're all paranoid and, terrorist this, terrorist that, and, the boogeyman in the closet, and they're coming to get you, and we got to stop them from, having guns. And, I look at it, and, it's like, I just see a whole bunch of, create the problem and then sell people the solution. That's how I look at it. But I'm not trying to get too deep into my own conspiracy theories. All I'm saying is if you want to conspiracy theory yourself, to death, and you want to, really wreck your brain, go on YouTube and type in Robbie Parker, Sandy Hook. Go on YouTube and look up the smiling dad as his daughter is supposed to be dead, and yet he comes out smiling and laughing because he doesn't know that the cameras are on. Then all of a sudden he gets into character. He starts breathing real heavy. My little girl. But he was joking when he came out the doors. But your little girl is supposed to be dead. So, again, I've said before, not that I want to see him, but, if they really wanted to shut people up on some, the Sandy Hook thing, show us the dead bodies. I don't buy all this stuff with the, again, more conspiracy theory stuff. I don't buy all this stuff. Same with Osama bin Laden, the boogeyman in the cave. Hey, can we see his body? Oh, we just so happen to dump it overboard, in the Indian Ocean or the Persian Gulf. Sorry. Yeah, we didn't want him to be a martyr, so we dumped his body so that, they couldn't, treat him like Jesus or something. It's just suspect to me. It smells fishy. It's funky. Especially the way that the Democrats are just so eager to disarm everybody. And then it's like when they go over to the black people, African Americans, I'm like, I don't even know what type of crack they're smoking. Because, here you are, you got a group of black people that live in the nation of their former oppressors and who still have a history of being openly hostile towards them, whether through law enforcement or whether, through, other forms of violence like we saw with the Dylon Roof, or the KKK. 11 black churches were burnt down to the ground after the whole Dylon Roof situation. You didn't see that in the mainstream media. You could only find it on the internet and articles and such. And like I said before, when that Arab guy went in and did the whole terrorist thing in Chattanooga, Tennessee, the white people were out there with their rifles and guns the next day, protecting all these recruitment offices. But when it came to black people protecting, their churches, they couldn't even do that. Weren't mobilized to do that. 11 black churches got burnt down to the ground. And black people have their own set of massacres at the hands of white folks. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Springfield, Illinois, Omaha, Nebraska, Rosewood, Florida, Elaine, Arkansas. I think it's Thibodaux, some French name, Thibodaux, Louisiana, Colfax, Louisiana. Right? These are massacres. Just straight up massacres. Especially Colfax. They were just trying to vote. They were just trying to vote. And they were wiped out. I'm talking, in the hundreds of people. People talking about, this, Orlando is one of the worst, mass killings in U.S. history. No, it's not. There are several massacres of African Americans, at the hands of whites, that far outnumber what went down in Orlando. The Elaine, Arkansas massacre is one of them. I think the body count was over 237. And, there's no, way to verify because, obviously bodies were burned and dumped in the rivers and, a whole bunch of, who was keeping records of that. But this went down. And black people, as much as they want to scream racism and, all that stuff, they never take it upon themselves to defend themselves. Black people should be the most staunch Second Amendment people that there ever, should be in this country. And there's been a lot of, underhanded, dastardly deeded stuff, done to African American people. Go look up, the Black Panthers and look up Richard Aoki. There's a couple videos on Richard Aoki where the CIA got Richard Aoki to encourage the Black Panthers to get guns. The CIA supplied Richard Aoki with the guns so that the Black Panthers would actually have guns, and then they instigated the whole situation so that they would have a shootout with the police to get rid of the Black Panthers, to make them a real threat. Oh, look, the black people, they got guns. Why do you think California has the gun laws that it has now? Because, again, like I said before, when it comes to gun control and racism, they wanted to keep guns out of the hand of black people. First it was, you can open carry. Then it was, oh, snap, black people got guns and they wielding them. Look at these Black Panthers with these shotguns. Well, you can't have a loaded gun. You can carry openly, but you can't have an open carry loaded gun. So then the black people, what did they start doing? They started carrying their shotguns with the breeches open. And then it turned into, you can't carry openly or with a breech open. You can't carry openly, period, right? So they every time, black people, would take it a step further, what would happen? White people would create more gun laws. I mean, this is the history. Like, this isn't even, because I already know that there's a couple white people that are listening to this right now, and they're steaming and they're sitting around all butthurt. This is the history. This is plain history. Go look up Richard Aoki. Go YouTube Richard Aoki. Since you're sitting here on YouTube, go look him up. Go look up Michael Ruppert and the CIA and the dumping of drugs in the black community in the inner city. Go look him up. Now we had this war on drugs and the mass incarceration of black men. I mean, even another thing, it's like, with the whole concealed carry thing. The Ninth Circuit Ward out in California smacked down concealed carry. They reneged on the San Diego ruling, saying that it was too restrictive, and then they reneged on it, it's like, it's bittersweet for me because when I look at it, I look at it like, it's like this is the only time that white people get to kind of feel how low-key racism feels, because it's like this, right? In 2016, you can't say black people can't come to this certain location, right? Black people can't come to this restaurant. But you can say that it's $100 a plate in order to eat at this restaurant, and if you don't have $100, I guess you can't come. And then what you do is you see to it that they don't have $100 to come. That way, what you're doing is you're discriminating economically, but you're not discriminating based on race. And in a capitalist society, discriminating against people economically is totally legit. That's totally okay. Right? So as long as you can keep a group of people at bay and make sure that they're not financially your equivalent, then they are not going to show up because they can't afford to be there. Right? This is how they keep certain neighborhoods exclusive. Right? Or how they keep certain bars to have a certain clientele or a certain group, right? Make sure that you got that $40 cover, right? If you got a $40 cover, you already know chances are who's not going to be there, because last time I checked, it's not like black people as a collective, are known for their wealth, right? So they're not going to be at some place where it's $40 just to get in the door. But what you will see is your white socialites, right? And so how does that pertain to the concealed carry? Well, I'm saying it's a low-key way of discrimination, right? So what you do is you regulate it to death, right? They can't say, you can't have guns, right? They can't say that no more than, white people who don't want black people at a particular location can't say no blacks allowed, right? But what they can say is what they can do is basically restrict it into oblivion by putting up arbitrary, terms like, what's it called? Justifiable need or good cause. You see? See, at that point, they don't have to say you can't, exercise your Second Amendment rights. They know they can't say that, right? Because then that'll have the Supreme Court coming down on them. No. But what they do is they come from the angle of public safety and regulation, and what their ultimate goal is, what they really want to do is basically deny people access to firearms, access to be able to defend themselves, right? They want to keep regulating it to death to where the Second Amendment is essentially null and void. It's and that's one of the things I don't like about this, assault weapons issue that they just had with the I forget the other circuit court, or actually the Supreme Court, that won't see the case about the assault weapons. Because essentially, if the Supreme Court doesn't say that you can't ban a whole class of, the most widely used rifle in America, then that gives all these states the green light to pass as many assault weapons bans as they want to. We're going to ban, these features that don't make a rifle particularly more lethal than any other semi-automatic rifle. It's like New Jersey, AR-15 bad, SKS good, AR-15 bad, M1 Grand good, AR-15 bad, Springfield M1A1 good, right? As though as though these weapons can't do damage, on top of having the 15 round magazine limit, so essentially, what the state is doing is just restricting it to death, restricted into oblivion, and the next thing it starts with, here's the slippery slope. Oh, we don't want you to have AR-15s. Okay, well, the Supreme Court didn't say anything about the fact that, we can't ban AR-15s, so we're going to ban them. And the next thing semi-automatic shotguns. Oh, we're going to ban those too. Yeah, we don't want you to have those either. Pump-action shotguns that hold more than 3 rounds. Oh, we don't want you to have those either. Oh, we ban those too. Right? And the next thing you're standing there with a BB gun. Or you're standing there with a taser and that's all you can have. Right? Or to say, yeah, you can keep and bear arms. You can keep your one-shot, musket. Lever action, you can't have those. That holds 15 rounds. Nope, can't have lever action. We don't want you having lever action either. Because you can fire, 15 rounds in 25 seconds or something like that, or probably less than that, right? So they'll ban that too. This is what they mean by the slippery slope. They're not going to stop at AR-15s. It'll go into handgun. It'll go into revolvers. Then it'll go into handguns. It'll go into, shotguns. It'll go into, and the next thing you know, the only gun that you're allowed to have is a 2-shot Derringer, and you're still not allowed to carry concealed in the state of New Jersey. I don't know what people don't understand, about the fact that you will not get these rights back. You're opening up the door for the government or whoever's in power at that time. Who knows how the world is going to change, to basically, slaughter you. And then on top of that, you want to talk about having a civil war. People ain't giving up their guns. This ain't Australia. That's not going to happen. We're going to go door to door. First off, there is no, there are no registered guns. Obviously there are registered guns. New Jersey has registered handguns. But I'm saying, so New Jersey, yeah, they could probably come to everybody's house and take their guns. Because chances are if they have a handgun, they probably have a rifle too. And if they have a registered handgun, they can get the rifles. Right? But in other states, there is no registration. So, government, what are you going to do? Start knocking on everybody's door? People will be burying their guns in the hills and all type of bunkers and everything else. They'll be out there. They will be out there, and that's not stopping any sort of massacre. One of the things that people need to understand is when you live in a free state, yes, there is the potential of somebody going off on the deep end, even good people. They've had cops go off on the deep end. I think in New Jersey, not too long ago, they had a cop who killed his wife. They were going through a bad divorce and he just pulled out and just emptied the clip in her, right in front of everybody. That's how whatever he was angry about, that's what he did. Law enforcement. So anybody is capable of going over the deep end. And in a nation, and let me say this, before I even get off on, talking about people defending themselves and or people being upset that they're forced to defend themselves, the media is really at fault for a lot of these mass shootings and everything, because they go off and they make these people famous. They give them all type of attention and notoriety, and they keep talking about it, and oh my God, and here's his Facebook page, and oh my God, and here's his background, and oh my God, and here's everything about him, and let's analyze his life, and let's do all this stuff, and let's peer into who he was, and they showing his image all over the place. If I was a loser sitting somewhere, and I didn't get the girl, and, everybody was picking on me, and I hate the world and everything else like that would be, my way of being somebody, something, getting the attention, something, and the media just keeps making these, mass murderers famous. They keep wanting to know everything about them. Oh, let's talk about them for 4 months. Let's have them on the news and just keep talking about them, And it's like, well, as long as media keeps doing that, yeah, unfortunately, yeah, people are going to have to go out here and defend themselves. And it doesn't take everybody doesn't have to carry concealed. Like I said, everybody ain't built for it. You know what I mean? But it does take, 1 or 2 people in a room full of 100 people, to be armed. I mean, hell, there's nothing stopping me, from going off the deep end and saying, "Hell with it," and going out here and, shooting the place up. Am I going to do that? No. But there's nothing stopping me from doing that. Again, this is the whole thing about living in a free nation. Unless we're going to start, turning into the thought police and Minority Report, where everybody's running around, you're under arrest. For what? You were thinking about doing something. No, I wasn't. Yes, you were. Our oracles told us. I mean, unless we're going to live in a big brother state, which is, is damn near getting near one. 1984, big brother. Plain and simple. I mean, that is where we are headed, with all this and all this, terrorism, the big boogeyman. Oh, give us more of your rights, give us more of your rights up so that we can monitor you and keep you safe and everything else like that, right? Yes, just stand in a room butt naked, so that we can keep you safe. I mean, that's ultimately what it's coming down to. And I'm blown away by the number of people, regardless of whether I point out the Ludlow massacre, the Latimer massacre, the Homestead massacre, the Elaine massacre, the Tulsa massacre, the Colfax massacre, regardless of what I point out, people are just, I trust the government and I trust, police officers and, state troopers, and I trust, the military, and I trust them. I mean, truth be told, if there was ever something to go down, yeah, there'd be a lot of police officers who would abandon. There would be a lot of military who would abandon. They basically said, go into these American towns and disarm these people. There's a lot of people who wouldn't do it. It'd be a mutiny within, and additionally, it's unrealistic because, the military only has 2.5 million soldiers, active duty, something like that, right? And there's 300 million guns in America? Yeah, good luck with that one. Good luck with that one. On top of the fact that many of the people who do own the guns are military themselves. You would have to completely change the culture and just, have a communist society in order to have that happen where you can, just across the board get half the poor to kill the other half. But it has been done before in history. And anybody who thinks that it can't happen again is just utterly naive. That's just my opinion on it. But, people, I don't know. There's just so many thoughts I have in my mind, and just, I get unnerved whenever I hear black people talking about, we want to ban these guns, and I always think about inner city crime and gangs and drugs and everything. I'm like, you can't even defend yourself within your own community. Screw the whole Black Lives Matter and cops killing us and this, that, and the third. I'm saying that's one problem we face, but then we also face another problem internally. And what you going to do? You're going to disarm all the law-abiding good people in the community? That's already been done by the Democrats, in these large urban environments. Grandma can't defend herself. Why? Because in Brooklyn, New York, she can't defend herself because there is no concealed carry. It's damn near impossible to get a concealed carry in New York. But yet she's got to, go back to Bed-Stuy or go back to Brooklyn or Queens or whatever, and, got the, the young stick-up kids, in the community. They can get legal guns. All they got to do is go over, drive up to Vermont where they're plentiful and, and have a couple straw purchases and then drive them back into New York. That ain't no thing. You see? Go find some heroin addicts in Vermont who are looking to sell their handgun because, they want more drugs. People who don't know that Vermont's got a big heroin problem. I think Vermont and New Hampshire. People, it's just, they're available. These guns are available. And, the whole, we're going to ban guns today, protect us from the next mass shooting. And then what? Open yourself up for, a tyrannical government, right? On top of the fact that, look at the massacre that they had in France. In France, are guns not banned? Right? The guns that they used, were fully automatic AK-47s. Not only are they banned in the United States, or actually they're not banned in the United States, but they're cost prohibitive in the United States. People believe that machine guns are banned. No, they're just NFA items, which means you have to go through another layer of background checks and you have to register with the ATF in order to possess those firearms. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that, again, people who don't know anything about guns, they swear up and down. They don't know. Like, there was a horrible article that was written the other day in New Jersey where they discovered that the guy who did the Orlando shooting, he was using an MCX, 6-hour MCX, which is basically a variant of an AR-15 without the buffer tube, so that it has a collapsible stock and you can fold it, right, to make it slightly more compact. Well, anyway, the commercial that they pulled had a silencer on the front of the gun, and the person wrote this whole article talking about how, the silencer, it makes it so much more deadly, but luckily that's banned in New Jersey, and so you can't have it, not even realizing it's an NFA item, and that the MCX 6-hour AR-15 variant doesn't come like that. It doesn't come shipped with the silencer on it. No guns come shipped with a silencer on it. Why? Because it's an NFA item. It has to be registered and bought separately, and you have to get the tax stamp, pay the $200 tax stamp, and all that in order to get the silencer, which you can't even get. Even though you could get the tax stamp, you can't bring it into the state of New Jersey, so you technically can't get the tax stamp because that's already banned in New Jersey. It's a Class 3 NFA item, right? But like, this person who wrote this anti-gun article thought that you could just get the gun with the silencer because she just typed in MCX 6-hour and pulled up the commercial, and because they were showing a variant that had the silencer on it, she figured that, this is what can be bought right off of the shelves. Like, these people, the anti-gunners and people who think that they support these gun laws, don't know anything about the gun laws. They don't even know, like, that's already banned, or that's already restricted, or, you can get that, but, you can go out and you can buy a Tommy gun, fully automatic Tommy gun, for $20,000 if you got $20,000 and you want to pay a $200 tax stamp. You can go buy a fully automatic, AR-15 if you want to pay $15,000 and then add another $200 tax stamp. See, these things are cost prohibitive. It doesn't mean that they're banned. They're cost prohibitive, right? 1986, no more fully automatic rifles could be manufactured and sold to the public. That was 1986, okay, underneath Reagan. And, which honestly, I don't think you do any people, machine guns so bad. Actually, machine guns, if you ask me, are, other than in close quarters, would be considered less lethal. Because at range, the bullets are spraying all over the place. That's why in the military, in Vietnam, they had fully automatic. But then now, if you join the military and you look at the M16, I think it's A2 and A3, it's like a 3-shot burst rifle. Semi-automatic and 3-shot burst. Why? Because fully automatic waste ammunition, because most people can't control the damn thing. They can't aim accurately with it. You know, so if somebody went into a place and tried to kill people with a fully automatic gun, chances are most of the bullets would go all over the place. But is it really that much of a difference? You know, and even with this Florida thing, and I've asked this question before, but they're like, okay, he killed 100 people. No, 50 people. And injured another about 50 people. And I'm sitting there and I'm doing the math in my head, and I'm like, that's over 3 magazines. So, you know, 3 30-round magazines, right? Because each 30-round magazine holds 30 rounds, right? So that's over. So to be able to shoot and hit, whether you killed them or not killed them, over 100 people, that means you had to have at least 1 bullet for each person. So that's over 3 magazines, right? So I'm like, so he's just standing there and then reload and then bop, 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 and then reload. First off, when you listen to the audio tape of the gunshots, he's not even shooting that fast. He's not even shooting that fast when you know with the gunshots and everything. And it's just all very suspect to me. You know, it's just all very suspect. Because you had the cop, the guy went in there, and the cops on the outside, and then like he followed the guy in there. I don't know how the story goes, you know, but the cop, you know, that engaged him from the outside, I don't know whether he immediately went in or went in later, but I'm saying there's no way that the cops just sat outside the building and listened to him shoot off 100 rounds. As soon as he starts shooting off rounds, they're moving in the building. They're moving in the building. As soon as you even hear they're shooting hostages, SWAT team is, I mean, you know, whatever, boom, you know, C4 blows up the door, maybe not C4, whatever they use, the breaching charge blows up the door, you know, flashbangs are thrown in, whatever. You know what I'm saying? They're moving in there. You're not going to sit there and rattle off 100 rounds. See, people need to shoot an AR-15 to realize how you know, shooting off. First off, your finger would get tired shooting off 100 rounds. 100 rounds, just pulling the trigger, semi-automatic. No, it doesn't add up. You know, he was shooting a cop on the outside, and the cop, you know, bullet grazed off of his helmet. You know, and then he went back in, you know, and then the cop finally took him down. And I'm like, after he said 100 rounds, 4 magazine changes. Come on, y'all. It's fishier than fishy. You know, like I said, Robbie Parker, YouTube video. Look him up. Anyway, that's my video.